We're desperate for our children to go back to school. It's just we don't think it's safe. Not the words of a politician, but a parent speaking to me this morning. Now it seems Scotland's First Minister agrees. Wales is keeping its schools closed till at least the 18th of January. And the Northern Ireland Executive is meeting now to discuss whether to follow suit. But only this morning, the Prime Minister once again said he believed schools were safe. Now he's expected to do a U-turn and announce that all schools in England will close from tomorrow, except for the children of key workers and those deemed vulnerable. If he does, expect calls for more support for remote learning, more support for those on free school meals, and calls for the cancellation of GCSEs and A-levels in England this summer.
Back on the school run. Most primary schools in and around Nottingham open today. Like 3/4 of England, the area is in Tier 4. But Sonia Robinson was determined to get her boys back into the classroom. Did you have any doubts this morning about bringing your children to school?
No, I didn't. No, I'm really happy that we can come back and just get on with what we're used to, really.
Why is it so important that they're at school?
Well, we've missed obviously quite a lot of last month's curriculum. They're quite behind, so it's important now that they try and catch up. But most of all, the routine for them, the normality of coming to school.
This school is one of many to open today. The Prime Minister had urged parents to send their children to school, describing the risk as very, very low. But the largest teaching union wants lessons to go online, and several councils say they will support head teachers who decide to close schools. Did you have any second thoughts about bringing your children to school?
Far from it. I think, as far as I'm concerned, the kids should be in school. It's the safest place for them. I disagree with the unions getting involved. It seems like they're trying to justify their roles as per normal. I think the teachers have done a great job. But I think they really need to be in the classrooms with the children at the end of the day.
But 10 minutes down the road, another father has kept his children at home.
We're in Tier 4, London's in Tier 4, the primary schools are off there, they're not off here. You know, it's okay for a kid in Year 6 to go to school, but not if they're in Year 7. It doesn't seem like a coherent plan to me.
How much of a reality is it to you, the risks of COVID? Have you known many people who've had it?
Yes. Yeah, and it's, I think more people now know people that have really suffered with it. So, yeah, I know some people that are no longer here.
So what does the science say? Evidence so far has found primary schools have one of the lowest levels of infection when it comes to symptomatic cases. And research by the Office of National Statistics suggests teachers are at no greater risk of transmission than other professions. But no data has been published about the risks of the new strain of the virus.
Although young people may not get as ill with either strain of the virus at the moment, they are bringing it into schools and they're taking it back out into their communities. And we believe that part of our job is to protect those communities and also to protect the NHS. And that is, you know, really what underlies the view that we've taken that primary schools should not be fully open at this time.
New arrivals, not of books, but COVID tests.
And these are the kits, I guess.
The start of term at secondary schools in England has been delayed by up to 2 weeks, while heads organise the mass testing of pupils and staff. At this school, that's over 1,000 tests, not just once, but possibly every week. It's yet more disruption to the process of learning.
The impact academically and socially and personally on those students is massive. There's been massive disruption throughout since March, really. And for those students who are due to sit exams this summer, although we have been told the exams will come slightly later and allow us a little bit more time to prepare our students, this is huge disruption again for them, and I think grossly unfair for young people.
Some students, those deemed to be vulnerable and the children of key workers, are due back here as early as Wednesday. But for how long? As the head teacher put it, she can't yet see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, joining me now is Kevin Courtney, who leads the National Education Union, the UK's largest union for teachers and education professionals. It's likely that at 8 o'clock, the Prime Minister's going to announce school closures again. So let's just run through the implications of that. Can GCSEs and A-level exams go ahead this year, or do they need to be called off?
I think it'll be really difficult to run them. The government's proposals so far on exams won't cope with the level of disadvantage that some children will face if there is a lockdown and if schools are closed for that. Children at home who don't have the support, who don't have broadband, who don't have a space to work, they'll find it very difficult. So the question of equality and fair treatment will be really important, and exams won't be the solution to that.
Well, let's assume this is going to run at least until February. That's effectively a year of school that has been written off for a huge number of kids who either don't have access to, a digital device and Wi-Fi that works, or whose schools weren't laying on online learning when they were away from school. What is to happen to these young people who have effectively lost a year of education?
Well, on the 10th of June, we sent the Prime Minister a 10-point plan, a national recovery plan for education. And it called for steps that would have avoided us being in this place. We were asking that they mobilise extra teachers, find extra spaces so that we could reduce class sizes to reduce transmission in the classroom. We asked for plans for blended learning because we knew that rota operation, which has worked in sixth form colleges, could get case rates down and transmission down. We called for the digital divide to be solved, for the laptops to be delivered and the broadband to be delivered to the children who needed it. We called for a curriculum that would look at mental health issues. I'm afraid the government hasn't responded to that. So, Christian, your question is really important.
So you don't have an answer?
Sorry?
You don't have an answer then, do you, to what happens to those children?
Well, my answer is the government has to work with us on implementing the plan we put to them then, that they've ignored since then. But now, if we're going into another lockdown, they have to work with my union, with the NHT, with ASCL. They have to work with us to put those plans in place. Urgent action is required. We need to get the laptops delivered. We need to get the broadband delivered. We need to look for ways of getting schools open again. We need the measures that can get the virus rate down.
All right, but are your members going to do online live lessons? Because they weren't all doing it last year.
Well, they were doing what they could, and they were doing what they could with very little notice, but they were producing online live lessons.
Are they going to now?
Everything that we're doing at the moment is about working with key worker and vulnerable kids and delivering lessons for children remotely. Some of that's online and live, some of it is preparation, but it's all about working with the children at home.
Kevin Courtney, thank you very much indeed.